Hello everyone, welcome to URBONUS podcast. I'm the host Donatas URBONUS and I'm joined by my inspiring colleague Augustas Šuliauskas and also Rytis Vyšniauskas, who is back as well.
Yes, I'm happy to be back. Nice to see you guys once again.
So, we had a double round week last week with a lot of EuroLeague games, and we will have a double round week for the podcasts as well, because today this is our public pod, but on Thursday and Wednesday, we will have a Q&A session. So feel free to ask us anything about basketball or just something from behind the scenes, and be original with your questions, because we have some gifts for you for BN Plus members, which you can actually become going to basketnews.com/plus and selecting one of our subscription levels. We will have a hoodies or bonus hoodies as a gift for the best question, for the MVP question. As we all know, we have different opinions who is the MVP. It kind of gives us space and freedom to have different criteria on these best questions, but also whoever is not a Basket News Plus subscriber yet, you can also get a 1 month subscription for the best questions. So be original, think about it, and leave your questions below this video, or we will have the separate post on Twitter, probably Instagram, and on our social media channels. But yeah, let's talk about the last week. A lot of games, a lot of stuff, but one of the biggest highlights actually happened during the game, more like an off-court stuff. Panathinaikos made a big move. They signed Dwayne Bacon, 2-year contract, pretty surprising timing. Rytis was already commentating the game. Monaco Panathinaikos, he was, explaining the situation. Panathinaikos are looking for some signings, looking at position 4 player, and then bam, Bacon is joining the team. What was your first reaction? What will be your first observations of this signing?
Well, first of all, I'm not really sure how are they going to adjust their lineups, their rotations right now. I think Dan Radonjic will have a tough task because Dwayne Bacon is not an easy player to coach, first of all, and we will see if Radonjic is the man to handle him. And the other thing is that probably Bacon will play as a 4, which we haven't seen that much in Monaco. He played in those smaller lineups for some stretches, but
he played in the playoffs against the
he was more or less a small forward, you could say. And this should be a big adjustment. We might see like Derrick Williams moving from 4 to 5 more often, playing with those smaller lineups, knowing that Papayan is really struggling in the beginning of the season. We see that Rytis is a starting center, and then eventually they go with Williams and they start switching on defense. So some players will lose their minutes. Role players like Mandzukas, for example, or the Larentzakis brothers, I think they will have even lesser roles right now, because Dwayne Bacon is a 25-minute player in EuroLeague, and he has the ambition to be the number 1 guy on the roster. I'm pretty sure about that. They do have some talent. They do have some players that are also demanding, let's say, but I think there are going to be some cuts, probably. Someone should be released. I'm not sure who.
Do you think Andrew Andrews?
We're hearing those rumors about Andrew Andrews, but I don't know. I think Andrews doesn't have the ball in his hands enough to be effective and to have some influence in this team so far, because he needs the ball. If he's playing off the ball all the time, I don't think he has the ability to show his strengths. But anyway, somebody should be cut, in my opinion. Like right now, we're seeing Ponitka playing pretty solid as a point forward, I would say, not a small forward, point forward. But if Bacon is there, Ponitka's role will also be different, probably.
He's probably taking his minutes away.
Yeah, some of
his minutes for sure, because as you mentioned, some of these Greek players that are having bench roles probably are not going to see the court anymore as much if they're not making any cuts. And to me, the whole chatter about Andrew Andrews being cut from the team just doesn't make any sense. To cut a guy after 4 games in the EuroLeague. I agree with what you said, that he needs the ball more to be efficient, to be more seen on the court. But in my eyes, he has done a good enough job in these 4 first games of the EuroLeague. He's coming from Euro Cup, and to value the player's efficiency or his how good he is after 4 games of EuroLeague is not fair for the player. And
especially when we're talking about the EuroLeague rookie, we cannot forget that fact. It's a big adjustment for him having these players around. I could easily see him, let's say, coming off the bench and having the ball more in his hands. I'm not sure how these lineups will work now with Bacon on the team, but why not to have Andrews, Parrisley, Ponitka, Gudaitis, and, for example, Larentzakis. I mean, Andrews could be a primary ball handler on that lineup.
By the way, we said Ponitka might lose some of his minutes, but let's not forget Grigonis is also starting as a 3 or a 2, and his minutes might be affected as well. So far, he hasn't been consistent at all. He had one solid game that was against Vezda, where they took only win so far. And in the other games that they lost, Grigonis was really up and down. And for example, against Monaco, he was in a foul trouble. He couldn't deliver.
A lot of turnovers.
Only in the end of the game, he had few layups. But basically, this was not a good performance. So Grigonis is another player who is kind of under threat of losing some of his minutes because Bacon is coming to the team.
I think, also talking about Panathinaikos, just their play, we should not forget that Nate Walters hasn't played. And he is, I think he was signed to be the main point guard. He is the main, orchestrator, should be the main.
Radonjic coached him in Zvezda and it was successful.
Exactly. So I think now with Bacon and Walters coming back, we should see the real face of Panathinaikos. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but finally we will be able to see what's their true image, of Panathinaikos, because up until now they have a lot of new players. They have some missing spots in the roster to fill, and now with Bacon coming in, I think their starting lineup should be Walters, Grigonis, Bacon, Williams, and Gudaitis or Papagiannis, with one of those two. So to have Parrisley, Andrews, Ponitka, and or Larentzakis and Ponitka at the 4.
Bohoridis actually is playing solid minutes so far.
Yeah. So if Andrews is going to go, then probably But this starting lineup looks interesting. So I would love to see some game sample of how they are going to do.
Maybe I'm a little bit harsh, but knowing that it's Panathinaikos, I don't think that Dejan Radonjic is going to last full season. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone before Christmas, honestly.
But
they lost some close games,
approach,
for
actually.
Sure. But that's Panathinaikos.
Yeah, exactly, that's the problem of Panathinaikos, because if these rumors about Andrews is true, we're talking about the player they signed for on 1+1 deal, and they're thinking about cutting him in the end of October or even earlier. Now we're questioning the coach who's coming from Serbia after the successful project of Red Star. He has completely new team. He didn't have his main point guard. Then Panathinaikos signed Ponitka, Bacon, and they're still missing big men who can play both forward and 5 positions. So we're talking about the free signings they had to make during the season, and all the players are just still coming to the team. So you cannot question the quality of the team, because what kind of quality we're talking about when you have the team in such circumstances? You didn't do anything to help your coach to be in a comfortable situation to get the best result out of it. So, if at the same time, it wouldn't be surprising if they would go after this move, but again, it would be a very unfair move by Panathinaikos.
But again, since it's PAO, nothing surprises me anymore. This is the club that hired Rick Pitino twice. So you cannot be surprised by anything that they do in this organization. Anyway, this game, Panathinaikos Monaco, was a really crazy game. I loved it, really, a lot of action. In the first quarter, it seemed like it's the Berlin scenario all over again, where Panathinaikos, they were hopeless against Alba, and they were down 16 after the first quarter against Monaco, but they managed to come back pretty quickly. They went to the locker room being down by only 6, and in the third quarter, Derek Williams played the quarter of his life. I think this is something he should be telling his grandchildren after 30 years. Remember that time in Oaxaca when I was shooting the lights out and I couldn't miss, and I was doing all these too small
signs.
See, what is Oaxaca? What are you talking about, Dad?
you're too young. So anyway, and they were in a good position, but Monaco responded perfectly, and I think in the fourth quarter, Mike James just showed his quality, and even Sasha Obradovic in his TV interview, where he always says this phrase like, "Look, what is the word he says all the time?
I think
it's like
every
it's like
second or third
it's
word.
like, and he just finished by saying, and in the end, it's like Mike James is extra quality."
Did you notice
You
how
don't- you
everybody
don't need an
cheers up when
explanation.
Dora Patel is making these EuroLeague interviews?
Well, she's the best. The questions from her are always very solid because she has basketball knowledge and competence. So this makes the interview smooth, and for the coaches and for the players, it's very easy to respond when you feel that the person questioning you knows what he's talking about. So or she's talking about in this case, but. Talking about the interviews and phrases, another thing stuck in my head from this game actually was the highlight of the game for me. Since in EuroLeague we have the privilege to see some of the timeouts, and that was a full timeout of Monaco broadcasted, and it started with Mike James being very unhappy. He had plenty to say to his teammates, and he just shouted, "Post me the fuck up, man! I'm just playing there for no purpose, man. Just post me the fuck up!" After the timeout, they go back on the court, 2 possessions in a row. He is posting Paris Lee, and he gets two buckets in a row. And Paris Lee had a nightmare against his former teammate. Really, we saw some interesting matchups in this game, like Mike James and Andrew Andrews. They're both from Portland, Oregon. They're good buddies. And Paris Lee, a former teammate in Monaco, he was guarding Mike, and he just couldn't do anything. I mean, he was suffering all the time. Mike James was very aggressive, especially in the second half. So it was a good game, but again, another close game that Panathinaikos lost. They lost by 3, just like they lost in the opening night against Real Madrid.
But that's another kind of factor which makes us believe that Panathinaikos might improve. I mean, 3 of their 4 games, they were close. They could have won against Real Madrid. Okay, Monaco had kind of an advantage, but
They were the better team, actually.
That's that's true. That's obvious. But that's what I like about Panathinaikos. They have, especially Panathinaikos players, they have all the reasons to lose the hope about their coach, who barely speaks English. I mean, these timeouts, they're really painful to our ears. But you can see how players react in this situation. I mean, you could easily have the situation where players, from their body language, you could understand that they also feel uncomfortable, unhappy, and it's kind of, oh no, we have to have this situation on TV as well. But you hear Marius Grigonis saying something, trying to help his coach when you have these pauses, during the timeouts. Some other players are trying to inspire others. So that's what I like. It doesn't feel like the locker room is also lost and there's no chemistry between the players. I think that there's a pretty good chemistry, knowing the circumstances they are going through. So that's some hope for the future, especially with these signings, players coming back. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about, signing Bacon after what Radonjic said. Basically, 5 days later, they're signing Bacon when he said that he's not that type of player they were looking for. But it's kind of obvious that they decided to go for scoring rather for defensive versatility for the 5 position, or who could stretch the floor from the 4th position. And they were for sure they will improve offensively. Okay, they had struggles. They scored for 52 points against Olympiacos. They had their first 80-point game against Monaco. They have 15th best offensive rating. They have poor shooting. That's okay, but with Bacon, with Nate Walters coming back, with some other possible adjustments, they should improve in this area.
Still looks like a random team to me. I'm sorry.
I
don't believe
I
in
just
them.
hope that there will be one more addition during the season, especially in the front line, and I just hope that they will bring Dinos Mitoglou from under the table as a possible solution for this gap they have.
Isn't
in
he
the front
under
line.
the contract with Milano?
I think he's dealing with this doping situation. I don't see him coming back to Milan. After what happened, there's still no decision for how long he will be banned. But just imagine the scenario where he's cutting the contract with Milan, he's able to play because he already didn't play like for 6 months. So if the punishment was that, oh, you're banned to play 6 months, he already, did it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he would join the Greek team for his return.
But just don't you think it's a bit desperate signing of PAO, and when your head coach 5 days ago tells that Dwayne Bacon is not the type of player we are looking for, and 5 days later during the game, which was also very strange to me, you're announcing a new player during the game.
Yeah,
it's a bit strange. I don't know, for me at least. And you signed a player that basically the head coach said that we don't want him, we want a different type of player. But I think that lost to Alba, and just the way they lost and the way they look on offense, they really needed the first scoring option, and Dwayne Bacon is coming to do just that for that team. To me, what stands out watching Panathinaikos is their defense is pretty okay. I would say, Radonjic is there to make them a good defensive team, but offensively, they're just passing the ball too much in some of the possessions around the 3-point line, and then in the end, someone is trying to make something happen. This is why they're in the bottom in true shooting percentages, in all the 2-pointers, 3-pointers everywhere, and I don't think Dwayne Bacon is improving the passing quality of that team, or
you will have even more static.
But he is the guy who is able to, when there are 5 seconds left on the shot clock, the ball is in his hands, he will create something for himself and make the shot. So if they're going to play that type of offense, like Nate Walters did last year for Crvena Zvezda, they barely created something from a team's offense, but when he had the ball with 5-6 seconds left, he was just playing one-on-one and scoring these floaters or kicking out passes to the corners. Just to catch and shoot jump shots, which is not a bad option. It's better than a step back 3-pointer at the end of the shot clock. So,
well, I agree with you that it's kind of a desperate signing. You could say a panic buy. Either way, they needed to add some quality to the roster. So
exactly.
Dwayne Bacon is probably better than nothing. Just
for sure.
PAO situation, probably you always go for signing like that.
Yeah, it's just up to the coach how he's gonna handle it. But the funny thing is that for the first time in my life, I saw a player publicly offering his services to the club, because Dwayne Bacon tweeted, or was it on Instagram?
I think it was that he's taken out of the context. I think that there was a Greek journalist who texted him on Instagram, and he kind of asked something, if you would like to come to Panathinaikos and something like that. And of course he told yes, he's a free agent. And it made the headlines later somehow. He kind of denied it, but later he also deleted his own Instagram story. So
and 1 week later he signed. And 1 week later he signed for PAO. Maybe PAO didn't have him in their radar, but once the story broke loose, they thought, "Oh my God, Dwayne Bacon wants to play for Panathinaikos. Let's go for it." Yeah. Anyway, I think that that's a big job for Dejan Radonjic to manage this team and to find some balance and chemistry. But
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Although he's an amazing scorer, he could actually, if he would do something with his off-the-court issues, he definitely had, because if that didn't happen, he wouldn't play in Europe, first of all. Then he had some remarkable time in Monaco, I would say, and there's a reason why a lot of teams were questioning his signing. I just hope that he did, smart conclusions. Let's say some people think that he did some conclusions, and let's hope he will show it in Athens, although it's a very dangerous city.
You mean he changed? You mean some conclusions? He changed his attitude? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically that. The approach on a lot of things in the team and outside the court. Because if he, did that, I mean, talent-wise, he's just amazing. He could be really number one scorer in the whole EuroLeague if he wouldn't be problematic off the court. So it's gonna be good second chance for him on the EuroLeague level. What I would also add that adding Bacon doesn't solve your issues. I just checked some stats randomly, and for example, Monaco situation last year, before signing Bacon, Monaco was the 11th best by offensive rating in the EuroLeague, 15th in the true shooting percentage. Bacon came, we remember that Mitrovic was still the head coach. Their offensive rating improved just by 1 position to 10th, and true shooting percentage, okay, they had a bigger increase to 11th position. But the biggest adjustment happened when Sasha Obradovic came to the team. I mean, these numbers are ridiculous. First best offensive rating at first best true shooting percentage. So it's not just about Bacon. Radonjic will have to make some smart moves to utilize Bacon's strengths.
Bacon or no Bacon, this team is not a playoff contender.
I mean, they're making signings to at least
to be competitive,
and to try to get there. But
usually, if you're thinking about the playoffs or maybe even having a slight opportunity to go to the Final Four, you need to do a good job in the summer to build a good team. And trying to fix some of your mistakes in October or November, I think it's a bit too late, and you will not have enough time to build a team and build a chemistry. And I don't see PAO being playoff contenders this season. I mean, in our predictions and power rankings preseason, I had them like 14th or 15th. I wouldn't say that their stocks increased in my eyes right now. But again, they're not playing hopeless basketball apart from that game in Berlin. In other games, they were competitive. I would give more time to Radonjic. It's just my feeling that probably if he loses 1 or 2 more games, he might be out.
By the way, regarding this Radonjic press conference, my first reaction was like, oh my God, the club is like going against the coach's decision. I mean, maybe Radonjic didn't really consider Bacon because he needed a foreman, but club decided to go after the big name to improve, let's say, scoring, which is the first thing comes to your mind when you watch the scoreboard. And I think that it was gross, especially reading these rumors about Andrew Andrews. But from what I understood, Radonjic didn't have, let's say, the last word in building the roster, which is kind of okay, I think, because he is not known as the coach who really builds the roster well. I mean, he needs the help, and it doesn't say anything bad about the coach. Some coaches are at their best when they have some full roster completed and they, maximize their potential. Some of the coaches are not as creative to build a team on their own. So,
but you could see how awkward the press conference, the post-game press conference was when Radonjic was asked about Bacon, and he just couldn't respond properly, and he was looking. Yeah, we signed Bacon.
Yeah, that's true,
really
but
awkward.
I think mostly it's because he doesn't feel comfortable with English language first and foremost.
Maybe.
So so it's hard to express himself in that language. Maybe in Serbian it will be easier for him.
Do you think that Derek Williams will ever play a better quarter than he did?
I don't think so. I mean, and those shots, some of those shots that went in, where like
and these celebrations,
two bounces off the one bounce off the rim to the backboard, and then gets in. And
but the 3-pointers were pure buckets.
The 3-pointers, yeah. But just it adds to the point actually that I made about their offense. He made some really tough shots.
Had a 16-point quarter.
16-point quarter, but he made
18 maybe
18,
and 16 in a row, which is, I think it
something
might
like
be
that.
one of the best results or stretches we ever saw. I actually asked our colleague Darius Garuolis, who is like a stat freak, to check if there was any EuroLeague player who scored more points, consecutive points in one stretch.
No, but just him making these tough shots, and there were 2 defensive errors by Monaco. That it's not like Panathinaikos were actually looking for some special situations, to get some easy points. It was all either Monaco's defensive mistakes, like they're coming to help when the help is not needed, and they're leaving, the man who is hot. And just Williams showing off his offensive greatness, for a couple of possessions in a row, for actually a couple minutes in a row. But I don't think these shots are, if you had to bet.
In the long run, I agree.
Do you think he's making the same shots 2 or 3 games in a row?
In the long run, probably not. Although Williams himself said that in the summer during the offseason, he really worked a lot with his jump shot to improve his 3-point shooting. And I think we're seeing some of the results. That he became a better spot-up shooter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he looks more, I don't know, maybe...
confident with his shot, no?
He never lacked confidence, let's say, but I don't know. He's just the jump shooting mechanic and just
the shooting form is more consistent right now, I would say.
So that adds to me a little bit more optimism about his shots. But just in that run, it was also some really lucky and tough shots made, and you just can't, not just against Derek Williams, but to any player saying that, okay, these shots are going to go in every game, is you are not expecting that. So it was just beautiful to watch. These offensive outbursts to me are always super exciting and super nice to see. When a player gets so hot, he's enjoying the game, but I'm not, you can't expect that to happen in each game.
For sure.
How beautiful the game of Olympiacos and Real Madrid was for you
Best
guys.
game of the season so far, I think.
Or Alba Efes.
To me, still Real Madrid, Olympiacos.
No, there was more quality, more.
Except from the very last possession when Real Madrid has the chance to win the game and their final play is inbounding the ball to
weird.
Eddie Tavares to make a left-handed hook shot over Mustafa Fall.
There were a lot of questions. First of all, don't forget the fact that they tried. I mean, they had 6 players on the court at first after the timeout.
Yes.
If you noticed,
Yes.
which actually already tells that something was wrong with the communication.
It's a technical foul, actually.
When you start the play, probably not before the play.
If you step on the court after the timeout with 6 players, the refs can easily give you a technical.
Yeah, but
foul.
usually they're helping coaches. The same happened with Virtus and
I mean, I
Žalgiris.
know that the referees didn't want to decide the game.
Sure.
So
And that's a good decision in my eyes, but
they just politely noticed that, guys, you have 6 players, so please remove one of them. But yeah, the last possession was terrible for Real Madrid, and obviously, they don't have Slukas.
But I
This
think
is
that
a big advantage to Olympiacos playing those crunch minutes.
Don't you think the primary idea was to make an alley-oop pass to Gabriel Deck? I don't know, maybe Augustus did the breakdown of that play. Because if you saw, Sergio Yui made a crazy screen. He screened 2 players. I am not sure how legal it was because I saw a lot of elbows, a lot of contact, but it felt like he made a screen for Deck to have this...
How would you go for an alley-oop with 3 seconds on the clock?
I have no clue.
I mean, it's not a bad idea, to get an easy shot, if you can. But they were going for, like, to me, what it seems like, they were going for alley-oop, but the spacing were not okay because there was one guy in behind. So if you throw the lob,
was crowded.
If you throw the lob, this guy is coming to probably tip the ball away. And then also, just the spacing were in that play to me was not right. And
because it was clear that passing to Tavares was not a primary option.
No way in hell.
Usually you have like 3 or 4 options in the last play, and if nothing worse, then you get it to the big guy, and then this is our last option. So,
but talking about the whole game, once again we saw the greatness of Sasha Vezenkov and his off-ball movement. This should be like an educational material for young players, how you need to play basketball, all the fundamentals, how you need to be effective off the ball. It was really crazy how good he is right now, and he was outplaying Yabusele in my opinion, although Yabusele had good numbers.
He had good numbers, but the amount of times he lost Vezenkov on defense off the ball, I don't know, I saw at least 4 or 5 times, and he scored immediately. Like, Yabusele is just standing around, Vezenkov is already 3 meters behind him, just not seeing. And it was one of those games where you see, Yabusele's off-ball defense needs to improve his concentration. He was caught looking at the ball for like...
And then the greatness of Kostas Lukas in the 4th quarter. Once again, we had Yanulis Larentzakis bursting with confidence. He's becoming the best 4th quarter player in the whole league, not only in his own team.
And he actually is. I mean, I checked the stats.
Right now,
he's the best scorer in the 4 quarters.
Exactly.
I think that he is averaging 8.3 games on 97 true shooting percentage.
Wow.
It's just unreal. Lucas goes 2nd, Mike James 3rd, Marcus Howard 4th, and Wade Baldwin 5th. So it's just... Larry's the legend. I'm going to repeat it
Stop saying Larry legend. This should not be mentioned.
But he is legendary, and he was
but you're saying Larry legend. You do realize that you're saying Larry legend.
I know. I'm just, teasing you guys. And it was not only about scoring in that game. I mean, he made this 3-pointer like, actually, as if he was a Dwayne Bacon. He saw that, shot clock is expiring. He made some steps behind the arc, and he threw the three-pointer in some Real Madrid defender's face. Then he had a great defensive moment with Joel Bolomboy. There was some baseline drive and they made a great double team. And then he boxed out Walter Tavares to clear a path for easy shot for Kostas Lukas. I mean,
yeah, he did these
Larentzakis
spectacular plays.
crazy.
Again, Shaq McKissick was another player that really stepped up in this game. He gave a lot of energy to his team. Bolomboy stepped up in the fourth quarter because up until the fourth quarter, they really only had foul at center position. Tariq Black just couldn't perform. Bolomboy was also struggling a little bit.
Bolomboy played only 3 minutes in first 3 quarters, and he finished the fourth with 8 or 9 points, something like that. And
But
this
this
is
is
crucial.
This is also remember, guys, what we talked about in previous pods that we said, okay, this is not the game for Mustafa Fall in the first couple of games, and now you have him against Real Madrid, against Eddie Tavares, and other new signings are maybe it was not a game for them, but when you have 3 different centers, it's just such a luxury to have.
And he uses them, Bartzokas rotates them so well. I mean, Bolomboy played almost the entire fourth quarter, and what good thing he did that he put foul in the last possession to just stop the possible Tavares layup inside the paint.
Another interesting thing is that you would expect Olympiacos to win these type of games, the EuroLeague classics like against Real Madrid, through their defense, but I would say they won it through their offense. They didn't stop Madrid's ball movement. They couldn't stop Sergio Rodriguez from assisting his teammates in very easy situations, especially in the first half. Even Sergio, both of these legendary guards for Madrid, they had pretty easy games to find some points and assists. And I wouldn't say that Olympiacos showed their elite defense in this game, but they won it through the offense and through smart basketball. Similar story was in Vitoria against Baskonia. Again, they were not defending very, very well, but they managed to win the game, a high-scoring game. And you could hear in Madrid, even Vezenkov was saying that, and Bartzokas was saying that we should be much better defensively. It's good that we won this game, but we should be much better defensively. And you can easily say that, yes, they have a lot of defensive potential to be much better, because last season they probably had the best defensive rating in the league, or they were second or third, something like that.
They were like top 3 in both categories.
Yes,
both offensive
and right
defensive,
now,
probably the most complete.
Right now,
complete
they're
team in
winning
EuroLeague.
high-scoring games because they're just outscoring their opponents.
They were scoring against Tavares just so easily. It was an accent on the game. We are going to attack him on every possession when he is on the court. And basically, they scored almost on every possession, whenever attacking him. And simply the off-ball movement from Vezenkov and the pick and roll against Tavares. And there you goes your offense. Yeah. And, when you have Kostas Lukas at the end, he knows where the teammates are, where someone is cutting. If you need a mid-range shot, I'm going to make it. If you need a last-second shot, you also... How many game-winning... I know there's probably not a statistic for this in the EuroLeague, but he probably has the most game-deciding, shots in the last seasons. I think
the top 3 of the most clutch EuroLeague players in the last decade should be Spanoulis, Yui, and Slukas.
Exactly. Actually, Yui was clutch as well. 14 points in 4 quarters. I thought that it's gonna be the night of Sergio Yui. I mean, the guy turns 35 in few weeks, but he was so solid in the fourth quarter. And I keep, let's say, underestimating him. I always think that this is it. This is the last season. This is the last month for Sergio Yui playing effective basketball. He was amazing for Real Madrid. But of course, when you have Kostas Lukas, it was just a great matchup to watch because both of these guards were just amazing.
Well, Real Madrid found Musa also. He had a good shooting night, but once again, you see Mario Hezonja not in his rhythm, and there's a lot of question marks about that.
I think he played only 6 minutes against Baskonia
So
yesterday.
do you think, guys, like Chus Mateo is already in trouble, like under pressure because he's mismanaging the team? They lost, by the way, to Baskonia yesterday. So do you think like he's under pressure already?
I don't know. To me, what I saw from these, let's say, EuroLeague losses is the Janan Musa Mario Hezonja situation. Musa is playing well, but against Olympiacos, he played only 15 minutes. I'm not, I don't know how happy he was about that. He made 2 3-pointers and he was subbed after a couple of minutes after not getting...
Kozer played his minutes.
Yeah, after not getting the ball that much after that, he didn't seem that happy when he was leaving the court.
Sure.
I could be wrong. Obviously, it could be just his facial expression there, but
his facial expression after this foul call on Kozer against Lucas fighting for the rebound it should make memes. I think. Did you see the face of Musa? My God, you should rewatch that call.
Anyway, you want to continue?
It's just and then Mario Hezonja playing 15 minutes, not really finding his rhythm. This is what we talked about before. How these star players are going to handle the limited minutes and the subs and the touches. On that team is just so many players that want the ball, that are good with the ball. And, them losing is not going to help just Chus Mateo. And obviously, some of his, let's say, decisions at the game against Olympiacos was also,
But remember the start of the game against Barcelona with Satoransky posting up every position.
Exactly. But that's also, like we said, Andrew Andrus is the first-year player in the EuroLeague. Chus Mateo is also, he was the assistant all the time, but for him, it's, again, a head coaching job after a long period of being an assistant coach. So he also needs some time to feel how to be a head coach.
And these teams, I think that in general should have a privilege to be patient. I mean, they have everything. Basically, they have a lot of talent. They just need time to find out some places, some sweet spots, some situations for players like Hezonja. Musa already found his spot on the roster, which is awesome. But
if you're not good with managing personalities, then it's not going to work out. It's not like we're talking about.
Takes time, no? Don't you think so?
Basketball process takes time. Building chemistry takes time. But if you, as a head coach, are not handling the personalities in the locker room, with time, it only gets worse. It doesn't get better. Like with Zvezdan Mitrovic in Monaco, do you think they should have waited one more month?
Yeah, but do you see any signs of that happening in Madrid?
A little bit. I cannot see Hezonja and Musa being very happy about their minutes and their roles, especially Hezonja.
I think Musa should be very happy about his situation. I think that he's the top scorer of Real Madrid so far. Okay, the amount of minutes is questionable, but I know maybe this is some, let's say, particular situation with that game. Hezonja's situation is different, but he's type of player that requires some adjustments.
I'm just saying, if they continue to lose games, those bigger games, let's say, not only in the EuroLeague but also in the ACB, and some players will be unhappy, who knows what might happen. Actually, what I like is that all of a sudden they found themselves a new Anthony Randolph. The only difference is that he's right-handed. I'm talking about Petr Corneli.
Oh, yeah.
He just looks like Anthony Randolph, actually, and he's always in those same corner-free positions. And so far he's been hitting the shots, and he played some extended minutes, actually. Yabusele was kept on the bench for a while because Corneli was there making shots.
He is so far 78% from 2 and 50% from 3.
Because when he signed, I haven't seen him in Europe for a long time. In the NBA, he barely played. I didn't know what to expect. Like, is he a center? Is he a stretch four? What can he offer to this team? They were very careful by signing only a 1-year contract. But if he keeps performing like this, who knows? He might get a contract extension.
Yeah, by the NBA scouts who work in Europe, he was considered as a very solid reinforcement for Real Madrid. I had some questions, just as you. I mean,
I didn't know what to expect.
The best, yeah. I didn't see him for a while. I mean, how he can fit this team, and we saw in the beginning of the season that he was like DNP for quite some time. But now he's really progressing, and I believe that I don't know what you guys think, but I believe that Sharas would like to have him instead of Oscar da Silva, for example. They have kind of some similar things, and Sharas also likes
the Silva is more physical, but so far it's hard to say what he does for Barcelona. Like, I'm not sure right now.
Of course, it's a project. Let's say Corneli is already formed player. He's way more experienced. Yeah, so not only, I'm not sure if it's fair to say that they're having tough time. Of course, it's very unusual to see the standings where you can see Real Madrid being in the 9th position, FS 8th, then Alba Berlin 3rd, Baskonia 4th, Virtus 15th, Bayern 17th. It's that time of the year when you have only 4 games into season. But also, let's talk about Virtus Bologna.
I don't want to talk about it. They're terrible.
You both saw them in the playoffs. I also saw them in the top 10. Of course, we had some questions, but probably the start of the season for them, for the Eurocup champions, a little bit surprised as all, right? In a negative way.
For sure. I mean, just looking the last game against Partizan, just let's start from defense. Just so many miscommunications defensively. Partizan taking open shots and not being reactive enough, let's say, on defense. And then offensively, I don't know. To me, they're another team that are missing, a really good creative guard. And they have a lot of these guards, but they are not creating as much opportunities as one would have expected before the season. And the one guy who is the most creative one is then, let's say, a bit of liability on the defensive edge. Not a bit, let's say, yeah.
He is respectful.
Yeah. I'm respectful for legends, But they are just playing this offense that revolves, again, around the 3-point line. And then, they're missing a center. That Milutinov would have been a great one. Low post presence. So, I mean, their offense is really painful to watch. To me so far.
Terrible. Worst offensive rating. They're worst at 3-point shooting, worst at 3 shooting percentage, and 17th by turnover percentage.
So far, hitting 70-point mark seems like impossible task for them. They have this one win, but it was a super low-scoring game against Bayern Munich. Although I have to say they should have won in Kaunas. But it's just that Teodosic happened in the last seconds of the game.
But actually, with him in the lineup against Žalgiris switch all defense, to me, it was more energetic because he was actually the only guy who was trying to attack from the perimeter.
Yeah,
all the other guys were trying to throw passes to the low post and trying to take the advantage there. But it was like, why is no one attacking the big guy from the perimeter? I know Žalgiris big guys are
mobile,
solid, and mobile on that. But if Milos Teodosic can beat them, or shooting 3-pointer, step back, something, drive and kick out, it was just simply passing around and looking inside.
I agree, but he burned 3 possessions in the last minute.
Yeah, in the last minute he was. I was talking about it a little bit before, but the last minute was.
Like a rushed long distance shot with 6 seconds on the clock, then a turnover against Kevarius Hayes off the switch, and then the inbound pass, which was also a turnover. So Milos Teodosic was responsible for these 3 mistakes.
When Milos Teodosic is your primary option to decide the game, so you're already in trouble. And I mean, there are so many things to say. As you mentioned, they have like 5 players who can play a point guard position, but at the same time, you're kind of not sure who is the best guard so far on their team. You kind of think that it's Ife Lundberg, but I mean, I think that Ife Lundberg, they kind of got him as a star guard for the team, but I'm not sure if Ife Lundberg so far proved that he belongs to elite tier of guards who can lead the team to the top 8 or to make it, let's say, competitive for some Final Four consideration. And I just see so many players who might be on a different agenda. For example, I had this interview with Nico Mannion, and you listen to the guy and you remember that he was so successful with the Italy national team last year with the qualifications, Olympic qualifications in Tokyo as well. And he says that he wants everything now. He wants to play, he wants to score, he wants to be important. And he's 5th guy on the guards rotation. Then you have Isaiah Cordinia, for example. He's coming from French experience at first. He had some NBA ambitions, and of course he has his own goals. Then there's Milos Teodosic, who still wants to be one of the main guys of the team. There's Danny Hackett who is getting older. Ethan Lundberg. I mean, I just see
Bellinelli.
I'm sorry, I love Bellinelli so much. I'm a big fan of his, but there's nothing left in those legs. I'm sorry.
I mean,
he has to take such a hard shots by now that
He just cannot escape the defender anymore. Why he was elite is because of his off-the-ball movement, all these coming off staggers, hitting threes.
and they're doing that. When he is coming off the bench, they're playing through him.
Yes.
At least trying play
like
through him.
I said, there's not enough in these legs
for
the EuroLeague.
He seems to not be getting enough space. I mean, he doesn't need much space sometimes, but every time it seems like a super difficult shot when he is trying.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about Virtus. I just feel depressed talking about him. Honestly, the most depressing team in the EuroLeague so far. Yes.
It's gonna be hard for Sergio Scariolo.
Even though, like Bayern, they
put this
haven't won
team
a
on the
single
same page.
game, but you're watching Bayern and you're at least feeling that they're improving, they're getting better. Like they were really close to beating Milan. They were competitive in their other games. It's
Cassius
just that,
Winston is slowly
yes,
getting it.
you know how it goes with Trinchieri and the newcomers. It takes some time, but I believe in Bayern Munich that they will be much better than they are right now.
You believe more in them than you believe in Virtus.
At the moment, yes, because Virtus, I'm not sure. Maybe they need a roster change. Maybe Sergio Scariolo needs to change something in the playbook, or they're waiting for Schengelia to come back and try to use him as the low post presence.
He was used a lot last year.
So that's probably the idea. I don't know when he's coming back, like December, probably. So yeah, but at the moment, they're the most depressing team in the EuroLeague.
And the most fun team? Alba Berlin.
Alba Berlin, man, for sure. There's no question about it.
Look, I already have two players in my favorite players to watch this year EuroLeague list. So first one is Janulis Larentzakis. So I have my guard spot covered. And the other guy is Krist Kumadze.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, I have him in
6 blocks.
I mean, I have him in my fantasy team. And just...
Everybody should have him by now.
I want to see his usage percentage for the next game. But the shout out to Alba's Berlin development team. That guy didn't look like a EuroLeague player just a year ago.
Once they brought him, it looked like he doesn't belong here.
I remember watching some games and first minutes of him of his action last year, and I was just, I mean, why is he on the court? And now you are playing against defending champions on the road, and he is being one of the most impactful players on the court, not missing a field goal, having 6 blocks. He's definitely one of my favorite players to watch. But there's a lot of good things,
Tamir Blad,
about
for example.
Alba. Tamir Blad.
Dude, they played last week without Modolo, without Jalen Smith, and without Johannes Thiemann. And Marcus Eriksson is also
out.
still injured.
Donatas sent me during the game, and Donatas was like sending this screenshot of all 4 of them sitting on the bench and saying, how are they winning this game,
Man, they just have players flying on the court, like Jovel Zusman, for example, Luke Sikma and his crazy passing abilities. Like, everything is in such a good flow, and the chemistry is so great in the team. There's a lot of positive vibes about them, and you just love watching them. We do realize they're going to drop in the standings. We do realize they're going to start losing games eventually. But it's just they bring something different to the EuroLeague. Like,
such
even Vasa Michis said after they won against Alba in a tough battle, Vasa said that having Alba for the EuroLeague is a great thing because we have a team that plays beautiful basketball and is very good at developing young talent. So I agree 100% with what Vasa had to say.
They're number 1 in pace. They have the most possessions. They're just flying around the court.
The first pass is always very quick for them.
And it's always, whoever gets the rebound always immediately pushes the court because they have such forwards that can dribble the ball. And, Luke Sikma is usually the one getting the rebound as well. And just one interesting stat I found out and why they're so efficient on offense is the 4 play types with how they finish the offense is transition, catch and shoot, cuts, and screen off plays. So these 4 are like the most...
Sounds like the Warriors.
Sounds like... you could, from the play types, you could make this comparison. But these 4 are the most, efficient in general. The most efficient shots that you can create because, cuts, you get probably easy layups. Transition, you get open shots. Catch and shoots, you want as much of those if you can get.
And you have very unselfish players. in every
Exactly.
position. Everybody is unselfish.
I think they're assists number one, and assist percentage is also number one through 4 games.
Nice.
And just everyone feels free to shoot at the first possible.
Yeah, like they're just enjoying
Position.
life. They have the green light all the time, and the coach is very positive.
This is your favorite underdog story so far, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, after the double week, I have to give a huge shout out to Žalgiris. Like they grinded those 2 wins at home, and the way they grinded those wins, especially against Barcelona, it kind of reminded me like a mix of last season's Zvezda and of Trinkieri's Bayern. Something like they have to suffer in some moments. Like the lineups they play in the fourth quarter, offensively, they don't look good. They just survive from some random shots, but they are always hanging in there. They're always battling. They're getting the offensive rebounds, being super aggressive. They build this fighting spirit in the team. Like they're not the most talented team and probably not the most exciting team to watch, but they're just grinding. And even when they lost against Maccabi and Olympiacos, they were close. And now at home, they won these 2 games against Virtus and Barcelona. These were one possession games that like they easily could be 0-4 right now, but I would be speaking more or less the same things because you see a whole different Žalgiris mentality and character right now. In the long run, I think they will sometimes get into bumps where they just don't have enough quality to decide some games. But so far, they're like compensating for the lack of talent, especially in the second unit, with the big heart and passion for basketball. And obviously, it helps when you have a sold-out crowd in Žalgiris arena.
It seems like the excitement is back, after that terrible season last year. And for me, if Alba is fun to watch for their offense, Žalgiris is fun to watch because of their defense. And with that defense, it seems like they're going into each game and they have a chance. Because last year,
even when they're down by 8 or 10, like last season, you knew the game was dead by the time they're down by 10. Right now, you feel that they will find a way. They will hang in there. They're a very uncomfortable opponent
to play for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, you cannot not love all these Arnas Butkevičius, Dennis Rodman type of dives out of
Wow,
bounds.
man.
That's something crazy. Talking about the chemistry, I mean, Keenan Evans makes 3 mistakes in the span of 70 seconds. He gets benched, but then coach is coming at him, kind of supporting, tapping his back. Mantas Kalnietis quickly approaches him, says, hey, just calm down. You're going to come back when it's going to be important with like 2 minutes to play. He comes back. He makes one of the clutch layups against Virtus Bologna. Everybody is saying in the locker room to him that, hey, you're going to be our alpha guy. We have all the trust in you. Just be more aggressive. Just be more selfish, and we're behind. You have this leadership of Edgaras Ulanovas. I mean, you listen to his halftime interview, post-game interview.
Very honest, by the way.
He's the new captain of, exactly, there's a lot of honesty, a lot of heart in his words and in his action, because he really embraced this new captain role a lot. He's the new captain after Paulius Jankūnas, and he was doing a lot of different things to gather the group together. He always tries to do some pre-game speeches to get the guys prepared, especially the EuroLeague, or let's say newcomers of Žalgiris, and it feels like that this new duty, at least the teammates say that it kind of added him more responsibility, but at the same time more confidence, as if it was some very important thing, being long-time Žalgiris player. So a lot of things to like about this team.
I also want to give a quick mention to Baskonia.
Sure. That's my pick for
It's a shame
story.
that Marcus Howard, the new Shane Larkin, got hurt in the last game. But
are there any news about
the first update is that it's not serious, but the clear timeline, it's not clear about the timeline.
But they signed Pierre Henry to have a new point guard, a true point guard, let's say.
I would say it's like Baskonia made the biggest fake so far of the season, with the signings they made before, and we were saying, okay, we don't know how all these guys are going to get fit in. And not only Marcus Howard is playing lights out from the second game of the season, but they are bringing in Pierre Henry all of a sudden, who was supposed to be playing probably in the G League.
And Coach Peneroy is doing a good job so far. Baskonia during the history of EuroLeague was also always known for fast-paced basketball, and they're trying to play that way. And they have some rules, defensive rules, let's say. And so far, they've won against great teams, like against Madrid this weekend. In EuroLeague, they have 3 wins. They could have beaten Olympiacos. They were very, very close, actually. So you have to give a lot of respect to the coach because the team is brand new. They replaced most of their key players. The coach had to create a new system and to bring these EuroLeague rookies into it. And so far, everything's clicking for them. And they're, again, another fun team to watch, I would say.
I want to see how they will deal with when their schedule gets a little bit more tougher. They played 3 games at home and the away game against Valencia.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. And also, we don't know when Marcus Howard is coming back.
But I like what I saw in the game against Olympiacos, actually. Yeah. And right now, they're facing Maccabi, they're facing Panathinaikos. These are winnable games, I would say. And as well in this week away from home. So you can easily see them picking up at least 2 wins from 3 in this stretch.
For me, Baskonia is like higher level and the team playing higher level Alba Berlin playing under more pressure. Because they're also known for very good development of the players. I mean, we were questioning some of these moves. I mean, roster-wise, we thought that they might lack of talent, but they have a great GM, Alfredo Salazar, who's signing all these newcomers, basically, in Vitoria for so many years, and he found some great gems for the EuroLeague basketball who are now, as, for example, Shane Larkin or Mike James.
And also they signed the right coach, I think. They signed a coach that is already proven in Spanish basketball.
And he's different than Duško Ivanovic, Velimir Perasovic, or Neven Spagia was. Yeah. He puts less pressure on his team. He gives more confidence to his players. And you can see it, on your on TV that this group is just enjoying being together. I don't know a more exciting couple than Rokas Giedraitis and Costello. I mean, watching them enjoying each other is something like watching.
Since we are from the Baltics, we will always follow Baskonia because they always seem to have players from
the
all 3 Baltic countries.
Nice, Malman is before all the Lithuanian players.
Davis Bertans made a name for himself.
Yeah.
They had one Estonian as well.
Katsar is also doing a great job right now.
I think Christian Kangur, I think, played at least for a short period of time.
Could be. Yeah. But I mean, Marcus Howard is the player that makes you smile, and this is only few players can make you smile as much as watching him play like he did, having 2 consecutive 30-plus point games. Then Darius Thompson, such an unselfish point guard. I mean, there were a lot of questions that he's liking of being more vocal on the court, to be a first of all point guard at the EuroLeague level, and then primary point guard for your team. So far, he was doing a great job, and that's also part of Baskonia's success.
He seems to be always under control.
Yeah,
one of these players.
And what I also see is that Dalton Holmes is improving his game.
Yeah,
he had good performances against Olympiacos and Real Madrid.
So he scored like 26 points against Real Madrid.
Something like that. So another new player that is improving game by game. So
yeah. So we already mentioned 3 very promising newcomers in the EuroLeague. So
what a positive podcast today.
Yeah.
Not for Panathinaikos fans though.
Or Virtus.
We gave some hope.
I didn't. So.
Rytis has no hope for that team. I don't know.
I didn't.
Hey, just a reminder for all these, overreactions or underreactions, underrating things. Compared to the last season, after 4 rounds, we had Asvel being 3 victories in 4 games. FS were 0-4. 2 seasons ago, Žalgiris 4-0, Real Madrid 1-3. So just be patient. Be patient. Let's not overreact after 4 rounds.
Of course.
So thanks a lot for watching us, listening to us. Just a quick reminder, Q&A session coming up on Wednesday. You can win some great prizes like URBONUS hoodie and the 1-month BN Plus subscription. You can also join BasketNews Plus community by visiting basketnews.com/plus. Thanks for watching and see you soon.